No, no, please, I'm asking a very simple question.
Right.
Don't complicate it. Does thought see the chaos it has created? That's all.
Pause that already. Does thought see the chaos that it creates? No, of course not. Thoughts don't think. This is a good pointer by Krishnamurti because people get so distracted in what thoughts are saying. Don't be so consumed by what thoughts are saying. Instead, when a thought arises, see from where thoughts arise. Thoughts do not think themselves, so who or what thinks them? Thoughts do not see or feel the chaos that they create. So where does that power come from? Who sees the thoughts arise and who sees the chaos they create? Thoughts in and of themselves are not sentient. Alright, let's watch the rest of the video.
Which means, is thought aware of itself as a movement? Not, I am aware of thought as a movement.
You see,
Which the I has been created by thought.
Right.
so I wonder, I think the question which is relevant to that is, why does thought keep on going? You see, why does it sustain itself? You see, because as long as it sustains itself, it does produce something like an independent reality, not an illusion of one.
It's a good question.
Why does thought keep on going?
Curious what Krishnamurti is going to say here.
What is
When
my
it's irrelevant.
relationship to thought?
You are thought. For the love.
Alright, pause. Krishnamurti, that's funny. That's funny. You are thought. What he's saying here is that you, the concept you, is a thought itself. Like you, who you take yourself to be, is a thought form. The idea of a self is literally a thought. But it's a thought so grand that we attribute other thoughts to it. When in reality, this thought of you, this thought form you, is arising within the same awareness that all these other thoughts are. The only difference then is the thought you've placed a higher importance upon. And then in the manifest world, this thought form you has a greater gravity to it.
Says that I am the entity who is doing, who produces the thought. You see, which is to say, like say General Motors saying, I am the corporation which is producing automobiles. Do you see?
Yeah, but look, right, you're right. How can I get it through? The question is, I say to you, what is my relationship to thought? You say to me, you are thought. You, in some way, what you say is clear, but that's still what's coming from me. Do you see? In other words, that's still the way thought is moving. To say it's my relationship to thought.
Well, that's the point, to say that can this very thought stop right now? Do you see?
Yes.
What is sustaining this whole thing?
Alright, I'm going to pause this again. And one thing I'd like to really say here about all this questioning about thoughts is, one of the best pointers that I can give you is practical pointers is, don't believe any of your thoughts. Just don't believe them. Because as soon as you believe them, you're giving them energy. You're giving them power. And then they can attract unto themselves. They take up real estate in your awareness. They siphon your pure vital energy and coalesce solar systems around themselves in terms of additional thoughts and then eventually manifestations. So a way to combat this, at least for a little while until you clarify these energies, is to just not believe any thought. When a thought arises, just notice it, but don't go along with it. Don't give it any power. Don't give it any energy through your attention, at least for a little while, maybe even just for an hour or so. Don't believe any of your thoughts. All right, let's get back into it.
This very moment was the question I was trying to get at.
Yes, that's the question.
In other words, say we have a certain insight, but something happens to sustain the old process, nevertheless, right now.
That's right. Right now, thought keeps moving.
No, he asked Dr. Burma asked a very good question which we haven't answered. He said, why does thought move?
When it's irrelevant to you.
Why is it always moving?
That's right.
So what is movement? Movement is time. right?
That's too quick. What are you doing? Movement is time.
Oh, of course.
But I think, that
Movement is movement.
No.
That's
From
movement.
here to there.
Right.
But
This is, what about
physically,
that?
Yeah.
Right.
From here to there,
Right.
physically. From here to London, from here to New York,
Right.
from and also psychologically, from here to there.
Right.
I am this, I must be that.
Right. But if a thought is not necessarily all that.
I have,
Krishnamurti's
Thought is
visceral
the
reactions there are really
movement.
funny, actually.
we're examining movement, which is thought.
Thought.
Look, if thought stops, there is no movement.
Yeah, I know you. I'm trying to. This has to be made very clear.
Okay, I'm going to pause again. Krishnamurti just said, if thoughts stop, there is no movement. There's never any movement. All of these things move around within the stillness that you already are, that you always are, that you can never not be. All these movements happen within the changeless state that you are. It's the stateless state. It's a state within which all states arise and move, or at least appear to move.
help. You see,
What is that?
I ask myself, you see, what is it that makes me go on thinking or talking? In other words, I often can watch people and see they're in a hole just because they keep on talking. If they would stop talking, the whole
That's
problem
right.
would vanish, right? I mean, it's just this flow of words that... So, because what they say then comes out as if it were reality into them, and then they say, that's my problem, it's real, and I've got to think some more. Do you see, I think there's a kind of a feedback saying, see, suppose I say, well, I've got a problem, I'm suffering, right?
You've got an eye, though.
Yeah, I mean, I think that, you see, so therefore I have a sense I am real.
Right.
See, I'm thinking of my suffering, but there's implicit that it is I who is there,
Right.
and that the suffering is real because I am real.
Right.
And then comes the next thought, which is, since that is real, I must think some more,
Right.
because if it were, that would be the
It
case.
feeds on itself.
Yeah, and
Right.
then one of the things I must think is, what is my problem, which is that I am suffering. In other words, I'm compelled to keep on thinking that thought all the time. Do you see? And maintaining myself in existence. Do you see what I'm
Right.
driving at? That there's a feedback.
Which means, if thought is movement, which is time, and if there is no movement, I am dead. I am dead.
Yes, if that movement stops, then that sense that I am there being real must go, because
Right.
that sense that I am real is the result of
I-
thinking, right?
Do you see this is extraordinary?
Of course it is.
No, actually, in actuality, not in theory,
Right. Right.
one realizes thought as movement,
Right.
right?
Right.
There is not I realize thought as a movement. Thought itself realizes a movement.
Right.
It is in movement.
And in this movement, it creates an image of
me
who
or-
is supposed to be moving.
Yeah, yes.
Right. Right.
Now, when that movement stops, there is no me.
Right.
The me is the time,
Right.
put together by time,
Right.
which is thought.
Right.
So, do you, listening to this, realize the truth of it? Not the verbal, logical statement, but the truth of such an amazing thing.
That was great. Yeah, I really understand Krishnamurti's. It seems like he was a little bit frustrated that these two professors or doctors that were posing these questions, they're really insightful and great questions, and it's clear that these two people have done a lot of introspection, even in order to come up with these sorts of questions. But it's so clear to me and of course Krishnamurti here, as seen by his visceral reactions, almost frustrations, that so many people investigate these topics only with their heads, or only with thought, only with cognitive investigations. And then when they arrive at a fundamental truth or a true seeing, they keep it in their head, and then they ask more questions about it, and then they pop back out of that realization, or they don't sit there long enough to energetically stabilize within that realization. And what Krishnamurti was saying here, he's like, because when the professors say, okay, I get it. Krishnamurti said, okay, you get it, but do you feel it? And I say the same things. Like a lot of these realizations can be very heady, but you need to bring these realizations from the head into your heart. What do these things mean? Investigate that. And then when some sort of shift happens within you, your heart will know. You'll feel it. You'll feel a shift. It's kind of like seeing something beautiful. You know, there's like an internal combustion, like an almost like melting, or like a sense of awe. When you feel that in you, just sit there. Just imbibe that energy. Stabilize there. Self-realization is not a cognitive exploration. It is kind of initially, but really, if you're looking for true self-realization, that requires stabilization. That requires not just knowing it, but being it. And to be it, you have to really imbibe this. You have to understand this with your core, and then be there. Sit in that essence. And as you sit in that essence, energetic ties to different parts of the illusion will just kind of fizzle out. They'll lose their energy. They'll lose their attractiveness, their pull on you. And then you'll realize yourself as the stillness within which all movement happens. You'll realize yourself as the silence within which all sounds arise. You'll realize yourself as the beingness within which all temporal elements of existence arise and subside. And that's self-realization. All my love.